Hello, welcome back. I'm Refinement. I work at UX's Finance Technical Designer, and today we're creating a Slay the Spire style UI. In the last episode, I started off with some of the code for that. Just checking out my levels here, checking out everything is going, and we will jump into our scene. This is what we were looking at creating. So we're doing this in Unreal Engine Blueprints, and we're creating it in an hour. So one of the issues is that we have a timer that doesn't work. So we were creating it in somewhere around an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. We just want to do it in a few sessions. We don't want it to take too long. I'm going to give us 2 hours from now, which stops us at 4:30 p.m. my time. Just going to pop that into the timer here. There we go, 2 hours on the clock. Let's go. So we were building this in the last episode, and one of the ways that we did this is we used ChatGPT to help. I gave it the information. I want to create a grid of 15 by 7. I want to create up to 6 paths. I want them to travel up the tiers, and I want them to not cross over. Originally, I didn't tell it to not cross over. I actually came out with my first experiment came out like this, where we had these crossovers. And so at first I said, if we're going left to right, and I'm going up and across, and something's already previously gone up to the right, then don't cross it. But it's not always, you can't use the certain IDs for this, certain paths, because they might be crossed over already. So we actually have to hold every transition that happens. And if there is a transition, then we either go up or we go to whatever that one went to. So that is how we got to this result. Here's an output directly from, if I could just open this, that would be great. Okay, I don't know why it's doing that. So this is an output from our Unreal project that we started in the last episode. Previously, we had, so this is my output print strings that I have from Unreal Engine for the code that I translated from GPT. This is a couple of other tests. We just scroll up. I wanted to show you the broken ones, but I don't think I have them anymore. I had some pretty broken ones where it would cross over. And so that's in the last stream. I actually went up ChatGPT and edited one of my comments to get rid of everything. Okay, so point being, I had an issue in the last stream where my logic was almost there, but it was crossing right over across the whole graph. And I found out the reason for that quick debugging that I did. Added this debug print that outputs these positions for every frame, and then I feed that into GPT to give me the where are we? Yeah, to give us this. The issue was I had these safe positions, but I never cleared it. So I'd go through a path, I'd create a safe position on the right hand side. No, maybe it was like 5, 6, 7, those were safe positions. And then I just added to that. So eventually it became that the safe positions was just like 20 integers long rather than 3 or less. And so I had to clear that, and that solved the major problem. So let's just take a look at the translation. So this took a little bit of finessing and a little bit of work. I had to tell GPT how I wanted it to speak pseudo for me. But essentially we got to the point where we have a number of paths, and we add this to our transitions at the beginning. We just have an empty array of transitions. And then we for loop through each tier and each path, and we find out some valid candidate positions that we have filtered by them not transitioning over each other by a distance, essentially. So for all already completed transitions on this tier, we want to check that if any of those transitions are going to a point that is to my right, or a point that is from my position to my left, so anything that creates a cross, that's not good. And so in that case, I should just go north, or any of the other valid positions, basically. And then we just draw that. So that's the same logic here. We've got a for loop on our tiers, we've got our paths, we have some candidate validation, here for whether it's within bounds, left and right side of the grid. And we have then got our loop paths here. We then have this for loop on all existing transitions, and we do our distance crossover logic. And if it's not safe, then we do nothing. If it is safe, we add it to safe transitions or safe positions. And then we add it to our transition table, and we add it to our paths. That's just two variants of how we're storing the data for use in the next section, which is going to be creation of the widget. So let's get ahead of ourselves now. Let's start creating some widgets. So I'm going to turn off this debug here just by disconnecting it. That's simple enough. I did do a pretty nasty debugging, as you can see. So I'm going to get rid of that. So what we have is a widget blueprint. It's just this blueprint here. We don't really need this text block. And we want to draw these paths. So the way I'm going to do this is just a quick test of this logic. Is I'm just going to create a canvas panel across our view. I kind of want it to be center aligned, and the canvas is going to grow to the size that it needs to be based on a bunch of widgets that we're going to add to it. So let's create our first main widget, which is our node. So we have a user widget, widget underscore, we'll just call it path node. And in here we'll have a pretty basic image. We'll draw it at desired scale. I'm just going to use something from the library, so we'll just use this green guy. I want to draw this at 32 units. And I just want to draw that as a grid, I guess as a grid dot. I think I actually have a circle somewhere. It's this one. I'm going to use this, and that's just going to be our nodes, and we're just going to draw each one of those into this canvas panel, and we're going to give it an XY translation from the center out, left and right. So let's get started with that. We have this canvas panel, which is our path. We'll later put this into a scroll box for up, down, left and right scroll, or we might just translate it through right click. But what we want to do next is actually draw the nodes. So we have all these paths. So for each path, I want to break this. I'm going to take each on here. So these are all the different paths that we have. They don't necessarily know that we have a widget in a certain location. What we do know is that this is the index of the tier. This is the tier, and this is the position left to right. So what we could do is we want to create a widget, and it's just going to be of our generic path node for now, and we want to add that to our canvas, which is here. Add child to canvas, and we want to set the position. We just want to make a vector, so X is left right, Y is up down. We want to create an element, so we need to choose a distance. Okay. So what I do is I multiply this and this by our two distances. So we've got tier distance on this one, and we have position distance on this one. So this is Y, this is X, this is Y, and that's going to be our positions. And so let's see what happens with that. We actually have a black background, so that doesn't help. Let's make this grey. We're not seeing anything there. It's probably because we didn't call the function. So we have all these nodes. They're really odd. So let's make sure that when we create this, we set the alignment. Actually, we'll do that from here. Set alignment. Set size. Now we have all these points. So these are all the nodes that we've crossed. Now what we could do is actually make this slightly transparent, and what we'll notice is that in some cases, see how some of them are darker, some of them are brighter. Here, for example, these two nodes actually reached the same location. And so the issue with that is that now we have more than one node, which isn't great. So let's go and make sure that we're not drawing nodes in the same place. So what I can do is just create an array of these positions. We'll do a find for this, and if this is more than or equal to 0, then we won't draw it because we've already got a node there. Which of course just results in having one node because I did it wrong. I have this one fat node at the top, which is a bit strange. Designer, yeah, that's fine. Graph. So in use positions is empty. So did we find it? This should always be false first off. And then we're going to create our alignment and our auto size. So I don't know what this one at the top left is, but we can see that we no longer have these slightly more opaque versions. What I want to do here is just promote this to iWidget. It's technically the widget slot. So I'm not going to bother doing that. So the anchors should by default just be 0, 0 to the canvas. But I kind of want them... It's just going to push the top left of the canvas away, which it should be fine. The canvas is still center aligned, so whatever happens to the canvas is fine. For some reason though, we're getting that issue where one of our widgets is strangely aligned. And it might be the case that we're actually creating these widgets, but we're not doing anything with them. So all those widgets in the top left are probably the ones that were broken. And so what we'll do is we'll actually check the position before we create. And that should solve the issue that we saw there. Now we have this nice grid. I would like to be able to zoom in and out on this. So let's just get IA map zoom. I don't know if this is going to trigger because we're not applying the IMC for that. We have move, look, jump. I'm just going to do this in a little bit of an easier way. So it's like mouse wheel axis. I'm just going to add a quick edit zoom function on here. In fact, what we could do just to save ourselves some time is just make this smaller. So we would attach this to the zoom key and then we'd have some panning, but we're going to do that later. So the next thing to do is actually draw all the lines. So let's draw those lines between each node. And then we'll play with the graphics of the nodes once we get all of the core logic started. So this will be zoom, we'll play with that later. Draw nodes, that's all good. Let's go here, let's do draw lines. And so for each transition, I think, so for each from to, we just want to create a widget at that location that can scale. So let's actually create the line as a widget. And so it's an image. It's an image that technically has some kind of route that we can rotate it around from the bottom of itself. Which we'll do, because we're on a canvas panel, we can just rotate that widget. So we'll do this just as a straight up image. This image will be desired size. It's going to always be 16 units. And we'll just start it off by being like 64 in the length. And so for this widget, my pivot should be 0.5, 0.5. Let's just check this out here. It's not working as the way I want it, but it's when I draw it to the actual screen, it should be pivoting from this top location, so 0.50 on the X and Y. So I'm wondering, we've got no viewers, so I'm wondering if this is even coming up. Video unavailable. Interesting. Oh, we are here. Hello. It does say we're here. I don't see any chat going on, so that's fine. 2 people watching. Cool. My OBS has been having issues today, so usually there's people in the chat by now. Anyway, so we've got this image. We want to add a material to it that is going to tile, or have the ability to tile, based off of its Y distance. So let's create that material real quick. So M, UI, path line. So we'll have a texture in here. May as well make it a parameter. The line texture, this will be a UI material. It's going to be translucent. We're going to use the alpha in here and the RGB in here. So we'll just plug a default texture in so it stops complaining. We'll actually jump over to Photoshop and I'm going to create a quick 32 unit little pill shape, essentially. This is what I'm doing right now. Creating a little pill, little shaped guy. We'll just export that out. Do it over here, just in case. So export as PNG. Let's just do t_path line pip and import that in. This one. I'm going to apply the paper duty settings to that. I'm actually just going to plug that straight in. And for the UVs, what we do is we will break the two float components, and we will multiply, I think it's the G. So yeah, the up down. We'll multiply that by tiling. And then we'll append these back together. And that'll be our tiling for the length of this. And so what we can do is in our path line, we'll add that material. And in our construction script, we can get the dynamic material, set scalar parameter value, which is, I think we called it tiling. Yeah. To a division of our size. We'll try desired size. I don't think that's the right variable, but it's essentially the y. How many 32s? Right. Divided by. Oh yeah, let's try that. Divided by 32. So if it's 64 in length, it's 64 divided by 32, which comes out at 2. That means it's 2 times tiling. Let's say the access none. So what we'll do is we'll create a material instance for this. Create material instance. So looks like it came out at 0. Pre-pass must be completed. So that's not what we want. We want image size here. So get brush. It's this size that we want. Yeah, I knew desired size was wrong. It's the one, that's the one that's for when it actually is constrained by some other slot. So here we get 1, and then if we were to extend this to, say, 128, we should, theoretically, get 4 of them. So that's cool. It's a pretty lame dot graphic. If we go and look at our reference, we've got these cool little marching ants on this one. We've got like these funky lines on this one. We've got curved lines on that one. This one's just straight up red dotted dashes. Let's create something a little bit sexier here. So we will rasterize this layer. And then I'm just gonna like cut in and make something a little bit more strange. In fact, let's just go see how that looks. File, export that back over our path line. And then we can just re-import that material. So we have something a little bit more interesting, at least. It's not very varied. We could use a flipbook to change that up. We could have a flipbook that makes it look a little bit more interesting. But this is going to be our path line. So what we need to do is create a widget. It's the path line. We need to add it to the canvas panel. We need to set the alignment. Which will be 0.5 and 0. We'll then set the angle. We should be able to set transform. It's not letting us set the transform here. Which I always thought was an option. It is a render transform angle, so this is possibly going to cause us some issues when we get close to edges of screens because it will start culling it. Use an SDF for the circle shape. Yeah, usually I would create a quick MUI, like straight use UV maths to do this stuff, but I do want to just create something that's artistically controllable without the code portion. In my other videos, you'll see there's a lot of SDF based or similar logic SDF stuff inside material. It is a good suggestion, but I do quite like it having some style to it as well, which of course we could get with some noise after the SDF, but we're not going to go down that route today. Yeah, we've got a quick little material there. It's nice and simple. So when you rotate this, when we rotate this, actually, yeah, it rotates from there. So let's presume, let's go back in here. The pivot is 0 on the Y. So it's going to rotate like this, but the actual render geometry is still going to render here. So we might come across some issues, but let's cross that bridge when we get to it. This render transform angle is going to be based on the destination. If the source and the destination are, left or right, then we'll use, essentially we're going to use, actually I could, okay, I could change this, but I'm not going to. So we're going to say it's like, we're going to have a 3-part selector. So this is straight, and if it is straight, I'm just going to go 180. And if it's not straight, we've got, I think it's like negative, so it's negative 180 minus 90. Actually, no, it's negative 180 minus 45. So 225. Or negative 180 plus 45. 135. So those are the 3 directions that any of our paths can occupy. We go and take a look. You can see here it's like it's one of those, and then the distance is a little different because of triangulation. So we'll figure that out as well, which will be, well, let's have a look. Get image, set size, set brush, get brush, set members, image size, make. We said 16, and then it's going to be a selector, and that's going to be it will be our tier distance, or it'll be our tier distance plus some trigonometry value about the position distance. So let's actually quickly find out what that distance is. What's the trig formula? It'll be our tier distance plus a tier distance of, what do we have? We have a tier distance of 128. And a position distance of, let's just give it something different so it actually does it correctly. So that's just going to give us the trigonometry math, so it saves me reminding myself. So it's delta x is the horizontal difference between the positions is 0, 100. And it's got the angle here. That's fair. I might actually need that. So we can come back to that later. Okay. and then that just goes in there. That's going to be some of our logic that we need later. Right now we just want to get them drawing, and one thing that I need to do is remove from the transitions. I need to basically limit down the transitions, because when I'm drawing these lines, I need to, if there's two paths that are currently following the same line and then they're going to branch out again, I need to only draw one line there, because we don't want to draw three lines there. So how is the best way of doing that? We just want to say this is an event where if this is this is all the transitions in a tier. So this is tier. This is all the transitions in a tier. Essentially, we would say drawn transitions, or L drawn transitions. And if we can find, we're doing each loop on here. For each of the transitions in this current tier, this is where we're going to draw. This is where we're going to draw. We'll add, once we draw it, we'll add it as a drawn element. And if this is less than 0, because we couldn't find it, then we're good to continue. We didn't already draw the exact same transition, or path in this case. So we didn't draw it, so we're going to add it. And so now we have a transition that we can draw. Comes in here. Let's promote this to a local variable. Okay, so these are actually, we can just round these, I guess, because these are technically just ints, their positions. It's source and destination. And all we need to do is, similar to our draw nodes, we just need to take this multiplication. And so here we have the position at which it begins. So we can move this, let's put this right down out of the way. Over here. Let's move these. Can promote, that's fine. So set position. Like so. Set position. We're also going to set auto size to true, and we are going to set the render translation. So let's grab these. If this is, if they're equal, if the source and destination are equal, then it's just straight up. Otherwise, if the destination is larger than, actually it'll be if the source is larger than the destination, then it will be 255. So that'll be that part. So one render transform is 165, that should be 135 if you want a 45 degree angle. Yeah, I did it from negative 180. So when I'm down here, I think I went Which was it? What was the number? 225. Minus 225. So that was like that angle, which I basically did it wrong. It's like 180 minus 45, 135. I did it from negative 180 plus 45. Okay, that's not working. Yeah, so we'll go left, we'll go 180 and then we'll go left and right instead. So yeah, 135 if we're to the left. The source, well, yeah, let's just write it in, 225. In this case, what we want to say is it's 135 up to the left if the destination is less than the source. But yeah, that reads a little bit nicer than the negative 180 that I was doing before, considering I wasn't actually using negative 180. So good catch. Let's have a look. So we've set the render translation, we've set some alignments, we've set the position. Let's just see what that gives us. Nothing, because we didn't call it. So let's call it. So we do have a bunch of something happening in some regards. We've almost got the beginning of something. So what we need to do is clear the drawn translations, because otherwise it's never going to work. Nope, that still doesn't work. Okay. One thing we're going to have a real hard time doing with this logic at the moment, we can actually solve this by putting the data into the path, but is highlighting it when you're actually transitioning through it. Because at the moment we're not managing any of that, so we'll have to come back and actually manage that as well. What happens if we don't change any of the render translations? Yeah, cool, Speak. I'll catch you in the next one. Hopefully this ends up working pretty well and you can see the end result at some point. See you. I feel like if this was all down by 1, it would be better. Why do I feel like this is all off by 1? Not in the X at least. Let's add some more stuff to here to make it easier for us to understand what's happening. So we will just make this red. Well, that's the path node. It's not what I wanted to do. This with an overlay. We'll add an image. Actually, we could just paste. So this is the root of our... That's not going to help because it's exactly the same widget as everything else. Let's just go back to white and we'll draw this 16 by 16 as a little red dot. So that just tells us where we came from. We actually do have potentially a lot of overlaps happening, but they're all facing downwards, which is expected. They're just drawing in places where I didn't want them. I want them at all these places, which is strange that our transition data and our path data are not the same. Weird. So we get nothing on this one, that's fine, because there are no transitions in the first row. Six to five. Okay, yeah, I'm just doing it wrong. Yeah, source destination position tier. Yeah, so we actually need to save out tier over here. I did this part wrong. So this is the tier here. Promote L tier. Whoa, that wrong. L tier. Save this out. Bring this over. L tier. So that's our actual tier. This is our position along the tier. And so now we should get something a little bit better. So that is nicer, but we don't have one here, which is strange. Again, actually, everything is one down. So I'm just going to add one to source here. Didn't help. Sorry, I did it wrong. Shouldn't have added it there. Should have added it to tier. Or -1. Sorry, I'm doing it the wrong way around. Okay, so now we have one on everything, and so now we can add the rotation back in and see if that actually works for us. Let's check this out. So I could go in here and set the pivot back to 0 here. This one, for example, is definitely wrong. These are both definitely wrong. This is definitely wrong. Like they're all pretty much definitely wrong. And I think it's because we're actually supposed to be going downwards. Okay, so we're almost there. Now we just need to change the length of the diagonal axes to be that math amount longer. So let's take a look at that math again. I'll just look at it on my other screen so I can just read. I do almost have what I need. I want to get this written in a format that I can easily do it. Okay, so square root of the, or you square these, I should say. Add these together. And then you square root this whole thing. And that should give us the distance, always. Which we're never applying. So we should probably think about, we should think about applying. So we don't care about this. Just care about this. See if it works. It's a little long. It's a little bit long. Okay, so we could just ask if angle, get random transform angle, if this is 0, select, then it's just tier distance, otherwise it's diagonal and therefore, or angled, therefore we want to change it. So we're much closer now. We can get rid of our little debug square. Got a pretty cool looking grid going. We will be able to draw that in different axes as well. Let's do some cool stuff quickly. Let's import some art. Here's some I got earlier. I'll go to my downloads. So we'll add these as paper 2Ds. And in our path node, we'll take this image. We'll just randomly pick this. You could always change this based on some other logic that you create. I'm here just to do the hard part, which is like actually drawing it effectively. Set from soft texture, random. We'll promote this to an array. We could actually pre-construct this, would be quite cool. We can just see it editor time. So the way I would do this is I would have different nodes would have data assets, and they would have their graphics, their name, their coloring of any type, their rarity or weight that they might have being drawn throughout the grid. We would actually apply that as we draw out the grid. I'm just interested in drawing it right now, so all of that other data management is something that I could always do if I turned this into an actual project. So we do have these 5 images, so let's just plug those in. Can I... Nope, I can't do that. So we're just going to do it like this. 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we have all these little icons, which is pretty cool. Let's make sure that they're all lit up properly. Make sure our path lines are a little bit less opaque as well. So we're starting to get something that looks a little bit like what we wanted. This line isn't doing what we wanted, because I think it's because it's on pre-construct. So we'll also do it on event construct, because we're changing the length afterwards. Should be messing with this. The length of it is definitely being, number of pips is not being updated, so that we have like a, play with that in a second. I want these pips to be larger. That's looking pretty cool. Yeah. Hey, look, we drew a grid. Isn't that cool? It's kind of cool. One thing that I want to do is like offset them and move them around and have some fun with sort of the layout of them, but we'll get there if we get there. Main thing I'm like miffed about right now is that this tiling, if I print this, we are getting 5.6 on some of these. Why is it not working? Yeah, set scalar parameter value, like... Oh, here it is working now. Maybe I didn't compile it, but it is working now, so we get kind of a similar representation, up, down, left, and right. So you could always change this as well, just be like 64. It's fatter lines. So that's pretty cool. Got something that I'm happy with on the lines. So the next thing I want to do is make sure that I can actually pan this around. So we have an hour for a couple of polish items, I suppose. Let's go and take a look at our reference. So one thing we can see here is these are all unvisited and grayed out, and these are visited and colored in. So let's make sure that we have a similar logic. The thing I need to do is make sure that we're not actually drawing the line at the edges, because otherwise we're clipping over this, we're clipping over it. So let's go to our line. We'll get our UVs, break, or mask, I should say. Let's just mask out the R channel, I think. Or no, it'd be the Y channel. I don't know why I deleted that. So we'll get this, we'll sign it. So we should have black and white. Maybe we need to add one. Is that not working? This is kind of what I want here. And then just multiply this to 1 minus this. How do we get this to work? I can never... Okay. Basically just trying to create a fade that we can control. So we need to probably power this a little. So you see how this power is now bringing that outside in. And now when we look at this, you can see how we no longer have those elements underneath, because we've essentially told it to fade. We could fade it a little bit more as well. Now you can sort of see it doing a nice fade between these. Feels nicer, at least. So let's turn these into buttons that we can actually travel across. I suppose that before I do that, we should make sure that our canvas is being aligned, I guess, from the bottom of the screen. Like, which it isn't. We basically need to... I want this... It's supposed to be vertically aligned to the bottom, and then it can grow to whatever size it wants, but it's vertically aligned. It's aligned to the bottom. It should grow in canvas size and then actually like push itself upwards. If I set the Y pivot to 1, again, X left and right, Y up and down. I don't know why it's doing it kind of... it's pushing it to the left rather than the right. Am I changing something wrong here? So weird. Guessing it just doesn't matter. What I might do is a debug key. Debug G, I guess we'll go with. And that will rerun this logic. We'll clear the canvas as well. do any other logic here. I really didn't like that. We clear the paths and we clear the use transitions. Right? Used oh right, yeah. Should probably clear that. Why is used positions not a local variable? I'm gonna change this. Use a local variable. So we have this drawing nicely, except that we're not drawing it from the bottom, which is what I want. We're actually also drawing it from the top because of the way that the logic works. We're currently drawing from the top down. So I just want to get it working in one case and then dragging around to view it as well. So let's go ahead and clean up some of our graph here. How do I want to... I need to move the whole thing. Yeah, it's pretty cool, right? I love that there's that little second where it just doesn't update. Also, sometimes it just doesn't update the lines. Like here, they're still thick. So you can see it like marching ant. In fact, that marching ant thing is really cool. We could add a panner. Would look quite cool. Just plug time in here. Speed, it's just panning on the y-axis. And then so you just plug this in. So now you get this like pan. It's pretty cool. I just need to I just need to align it. I need to be able to align it. It's not letting me align it, and I don't know why. I have a canvas panel on an overlay. The canvas panel can grow. It's allowed to grow. I'm going to wrap this with a border and see what's going on. As of way more encouragement, thank you. I appreciate that. Go talk about this somewhere. Go talk about it to your mom, to your best friend. Go talk about it on Reddit. I don't know. So we have this background. We're just going to play with the opacity of this. Just make it a color. Okay. So that's interesting. Despite having expected the canvas panel to expand in a logical way, it's not. It's not doing that. But this looks more real. This looks more reasonable to what I expected. Okay, so this is something, and then we're padding from here, but we're allowed to draw over the outside, so that's okay. Okay. So instead of doing that, how about we do this? So now we have a canvas panel with 100 unit outside. We do not want any padding on the parent. Us! Okay, so we've got to the point, we figured out which things we want to pad and which things we don't want to pad. And so now we're drawing something intelligent. I know for a fact that this is actually drawing top to bottom, so it's annoying that these lines are the wrong way around to me. We're actually going down into the depths. If you liked peak, now you're getting depth. Actually, depth is a game, and it's good. It's a shark game. It's an old one. It's old but gold. Okay, so got a cool thing. We also need to link the top tier to like the first node where you make a choice. So we'll think about that in a moment. In fact, we could do that. We could do that right now. So let's add that first node. Draw nodes. We want to create our initial node. I need to have a particular graphic for this. So I'm just going to go to game icons net. This is a cool little website. If I click this, it has remembered my metadata. So I'm going to use flag. But this will just be our starting point. I'll import that into our art folder. Apply Paper 2D sprite settings. I'm going to create a widget underscore start node because I don't want any logic in here. It's always going to be fully white. It's going to be our flag. 64. We will add that to, so this will be our start node. We'll add this to our canvas. I don't know why it's called canvas panel path. It's literally the canvas panel for the map. Add child to canvas. I will set the anchors on this one to 0.50 in this case because it's the top. We'll have to do some logic when we want to draw top to bottom, left to right. I'm trying to add a level preview to a UI widget, a level preview. Any tips how I can achieve that? Yes. You'd have to use it as a render texture. Similarly, if you have a level, if you have like a render of it or an image, like that you've taken yourself or post curated or processed in like Photoshop or anything like that, then you could plug it straight into an image basically. If you want to have it actually be real time to the world, there's obviously a lot more steps involved in getting it to be represented as like an actual interactive format. Like a decent amount of steps that I couldn't go through in a quick. I couldn't whip up a quick UI right now for you, but I have done a decent number of them. So if I go to like x.com / just plugging myself here, Loki Game Dev. We jump over here. Loki Game Dev hasn't posted. That's a lie. It's a fabrication of the truth. I most certainly have posted. Okay, let me just sign in because apparently you can't see posts unless you sign in. Okay. That was strange. So if we go to my profile, scroll down a little. Yeah, you're talking about something a little bit like this. This is something that I made on a project that I was just part of recently. So the way this is done is we have two locations. Actually, this one might not be done this way, but one way you can do is you can have two locations either side of the map, and you can use that to triangulate your position. This one is done by using the origin of the world and the distance of every marker to that origin, and then scale translated onto like this image. So if this image is 1024 by 1024, but our world is 1 kilometer, then we have like a formulaic method to re-render this. It should be a 3D preview running in real time of our map, like the whole, yeah, like an actual 3D render of the map. So you can, if it's more for like a visualization, like a VFX, I would have some fun with just one massive render texture that's just an 8-bit single render texture of something like 1024 that just captures the whole world, depth only, and then you take that depth and you turn that into like a vertex world position offset, like 3D. So if I show you something here, 3D world map, what would you call it? A hologram. Just go concept art, world map hologram. Not really getting anything. Yeah, this sort of thing here. If you're doing something a little bit like stylized, you could get away with a 8-bit render texture depth only and render that to the world. You could actually make stuff like this from that. If you want actually a 1-to-1, you're just doubling, obviously, all of your rendering by rendering like your whole world onto this little map, right? Trying to add a level preview to a UI widget. Yeah, any tips? So I haven't done this, but I'm sure you could kind of voxelize that world, right? So you could voxelize it into some sort of SDF, well, not SDF, well, maybe. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure on how you do that, but you could maybe turn the data of all the positions in your world into sort of a grid of data that you then like re-render. It won't be like your map, it won't be textured in the same way, etc. You could potentially crunch it all down to a static mesh editor time. So if you know what your map looks like, you could maybe just like have all the statics and then like turn that into a single static mesh with like approximated material stuff. You'd probably want to simplify your materials because you're not going to have any streaming going on. 3D map in a, yeah, like a rotating 3D map, right? Or I would go for a stylized version because there are obviously memory limits of like re-rendering your whole map. So you need to come up with a solution that basically takes all that data and turns it into something that can actually be rendered. In terms of rendering a mesh to a UI, it's super simple. I've done it, you know, for like Resident Evil style, you know, like Silent Hill style UIs where you're like looking at an item. This is a bad example actually because he actually holds the item, but you can just texture straight to a UI in those cases. There's a good example of what I'm talking about. I don't know. I wonder if this one has. So yeah, this sort of render texture stuff, this was my work as well. So you can render texture a thing to your UI. And so once you've got like a crunched down version of your world that's like your world maybe turned into a static mesh that's like a lot simplified, and just used as sort of an idea of your asset. You could maybe also turn it into like a Gaussian splat map. So you might like, essentially, you know how you like do a 3D render of a real object and you take pictures all the way around it. You could maybe reproduce that in the engine, take pictures all around your model, and turn that into some sort of Gaussian splat that you then like render in your for this renderer as a material, and then you just rotate that final representation of your world map, as long as you don't let the players zoom in and out. So like a Gaussian splat UE5 level turnaround. Essentially, you come out with this kind of information of your map, of your 3D environment. Something a little bit like this, but it's data, right? It's just a packet of data. That's a lot cheaper than like all the meshes, all the materials. It's like just the bit you want, which is to just turntable it. So that could be a really interesting solution for that. I hope that helps. Anyway, there's a couple of things you can do. What time are we at? We've got 42 minutes. Okay. I created this starting node. I set the anchors to the top. I set the alignment to 0.5. I set the size for auto. And that is now added to the UI. Let's do a sequence here. Call this start node. Call this an auto battler is a UI game. I wanted the auto battle goes into the widget. The idea is that I'm making an auto battler like an idle game, like an idling game. And since the game is a UI only game, I wanted the auto battle goes into the widget. It's going to be pretty difficult. If I was doing it in Unreal or even in Unity, I would use like 3D UIs, 3D space UIs. So like NGUI. Like I've tried to do full games in UMG and it's not really that fun. It's just like there's so much stuff to do with translations that are easier to do outside of translated widgets. So in Unreal in particular, I would actually do it on a 3D scene. Also, it's going to be cheaper to do that than to have like an absolute ton of slate running to some potential degrees. I would Here's a fun challenge idea though, like make a game in UMG only. I mean, this is essentially the start of a game, UMG only game, if you wanted it to be. At this point, you could add some card graphic stuff, but there's no 3D world here, right? So here I need to offset my Y values. And in fact, I need to offset all the Y values. Start tier offset or first tier offset. So I would do that, and I would also add that to the. This is the nodes. I also need to add this to the lines. When I draw these Y position. And that first tier offset can just be like 256, I guess. Cool. Getting a little bit of a rendering. Yeah, okay. So now I just need to draw lines from this original to all of these locations. So I need to actually determine the angle properly, which I also had math for from GPT. So I'm just going to go and refresh its memory. Explain the angle logic from point A to B. My angles are 0 equals down, 180 equals up. Point A, x1, y1 to point B, x2, y2. Okay. x2 minus x1. The transition is the source to the destination. We already have a tier, so we know the tier here. X is no, I guess that's +1, to be honest. So it's this minus this. It's always going to be 1. And then y2 minus y1, which is the position. So destination minus source. And then we have a tan 2 degrees. There's a yx, which I guess is xy. Nope. I guess it is just confusing me backwards. Nope. What am I doing wrong? Here to here. It's almost like mostly correct. Let's go back here and just say, let's just do this in a circle. So it's like 90 is to the left, 180, 280, 265 is it? 27. Let me readjust my last message. So 0's down, left is 90, up is 180, right is 270. Custom angle is what? 400. We'll go minus 270, that should be left. Yeah, and minus 90 is right, yeah, cool. Where is pi? Get pi. Get pi, please. Okay. Apparently this is the math for our angle. Just miscalculated. Let's go this. No. Try this. Oh, found 2 radians. Welcome back. Yeah, it keeps like skipping, and I need to find out about what's going on there with my internet provider at some point. X, Y. Huh. Interesting. They're just so off. So crazy. Break it. Pursuit of perfection. Broke it. Position B minus position A. Position B minus position A multiplied by position spacing. And that is our X. Put into there. Then we've got Y is tier B, which is the next tier, minus tier A multiplied by tier spacing. That goes into our y, I believe. XY, and it's multiplied by 180 pi. You're really giving me some pain. I had to divide pi by something before. What did I have to divide it by? It's like some weird value related by pi. Maybe I just had to put that value in. We are going in the wrong directions, that's for sure. This isn't quite going exactly where we wanted. This is going in the wrong direction. The link tree in the bio is not working properly. Not working, eh? That's useless and explains why I don't get anyone following me from any of these streams. More. HTTPS bio link Loki. Weird. Okay, it immediately opens for me. I'll do it on a new incognito. So if I copy that bio link and paste it here in incognito, it works here. Strange. Oh great, it's arced now. I think it's 8, which is 810. If it's result from X, Y, Y, X. What is pi coming out as here? It should just be 3.14. Though I will admit that that is pretty close. Except that just needs to literally be the other way, and that needs to be thick. I would say the left and rights are backwards, but like in some cases they're not. Like this one is correct, moving from A to B. This one is correct, moving from A to B. This one just isn't correct, A to B. There we go. Right, now that we have... Well done, math. Right. Now that we have a math, I can take said math and steal it. Because now that I know I have a working one of those, delete all this stuff that I don't need. That's the angle. This is the distance logic. And when we draw our first node, we can draw one entry. So we can just get ref 0 as the first position. This will be so it'll be essentially we know that it's 1 tier difference, but we don't need that, which means it's just tier distance. It's just, oh no, sorry, it's the first tier offset in this case. So that's the distance in the Y. The distance in the X is literally whatever the whatever the distance is between this multiplied by position. Might be that. We'll call this draw first lines. I'll be happy once I get this exampled, because I'll be able to say, and this is how you draw the last point. Same kind of logic. Everything leads to the last point. Okay, so we want to this. All of this logic actually is going to go in application, so that goes down here. I'll be right back. I've got to look after my kid for 5 seconds while we get some shopping that they've delivered to the wrong house. So I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. Going out the top, first entry. It's hot. It's hot. Okay. This is tier distance. If it's straight down, which it never will be, it'll never be straight down. So let's just do this. I'm sure it'll never be straight down. I guess there's a chance. At which point this would be first tier offset. And so because this is actually a line, I'm gonna cut all this, put it into my draw lines function. Okay. Copy all lines, and then we'll have first line. Nice, okay. So we're drawing them all from the wrong location. Set position 0, 0. Let's make vector 2D. It's going to be, just promote this to a variable. Start widget. Weird. It should just draw itself at that start widget's position. But it doesn't. Doesn't do it. Just draws it from all the way over there. Let's get rid of the render angle and just make sure that we're getting the position correct. Because at the moment, that ain't correct. Zero, zero, yeah, great. That is bloody annoying. Maybe, I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but why would we need a delay in here? It has a position. When we draw the node, we set the anchors to It's because we set the anchor instead. Fine. So the position will be 0. So we'll set the anchor as 0.5, 0.5. This is a little bit of a problem. Yeah, you can see this being a bit of a problem. Now we're going to try and determine the angle. Okay, so we're just going to use GPT again because it's easy. Determine the angle with similar rotation matrix for a widget placed center top, aiming at the start of each path and the distance of the first path entry is a variable. Currently, the first tier offset is set to make sure that all this is actually working. So this is working where we where we change all of this. So that's cool. And sometimes it even updates, which is awesome. So we can change the height and width of this. I'm just going to get the angle math for this. Let's we've got a drawer in the center. I'm gonna change how I'm anchoring this. I want it to be anchored in the top left, and I want to set the position of that first node, like mathematically, essentially, because that's going to allow me to use that position in the angle arctan logic. So we know that this multiplied by position distance, so like 7 multiplied by 100, 700, we're going to place 1 at 0, and we're going to place the last one like here, basically. So if we divide this by 2, that would be our x. And I guess it's num positions minus 1, possibly. That gives us our center. Determine the, is this the same logic? The first single node is at its center top. Currently that is num positions minus 1 multiplied by position distance divided by 2. Zero. Okay, So we have 6 minutes left. We're going to get this first tier working, and then I think I'll call it a break because I'm melting. It says that the formula stays the same, so it's this is just 0. Sorry, what? I'm just reading this logic on this other screen. This is what I'm reading right now. I'm just reading a bunch of algebra. So we have a previous arctan to xy. X was position. Actually went into y. So the x and y are flipped on this, so I just need to keep that in mind. If I copy this up here, and then just start doing our new logic, which is to fix the comment here. So x is position and y is tier, except y is position and x is tier, because of course. Figure this is a typo. That these two variables should not be that way around. And then we still do this as well. So let's make sure that we keep that. Okay, so num positions minus 1 multiplied by position spacing divided by 2. Okay, so I hate this. Weather is really putting me off. Distance is the square root of x target minus x origin. Need to. We've got all these paths. It's just a variable. I path. Should be L path. Take that path. We get the first element. We multiply that by distance, that's the x. And the y is the tier, which is tier 0. So 0. But this is the x, so we'll minus my origin, which is the start widget's position, x plus, and here it said square root is y, so it's nothing minus, in this case it's nothing? No, it'll be first tier offset minus my origin. Oh, it is, they are squared. I thought they were squaring it and then square rooting it. It's just, I don't know. I don't know the math. I don't need to know the math as much anymore. Math is the hard part. Math is the bit in every widget that I've ever had to make that has taken the longest, that now I'm able to like get rid of so much of the headache thanks to like large language models, like knowing the patterns of math. It's like having the ultimate calculator that I can actually explain the problem to. Makes me very happy as a person who does a lot of UI. We're actually out of time, so I'm going to remove that. We're just going to finish this up next 15-20 minutes, I think. So that's the distance. The angle, it says degrees, so let's just do turn to degrees. X target minus X origin, Y target minus Y origin. So X target not quite. Put the position. Okay. Let's reverse back to front. This is kind of what we want. I don't know why that one is. But yeah, okay, so now we have it drawing one for each of these. The distance thing isn't working very well, I will say. Like, we're not getting equal here as we are here. So we end up with like different appearance on the lines. But I think there is a way. UE5 widget material UI domain get local size. I want to get the Y size by 32 to determine tiling count to retain same visual dotted line over the length of the applied widget. Widget size material. It should be a thing. We've used it before, although I might have used it by screen size. Get user interfaces UV. Let's try that. Take the pixel size. There we go. No math needed on the widget side. So that is exactly what I want. Perfect. So I can get rid of the dynamic material logic in here. We don't need it. It's all done through the line material now, which means I can actually change the scale of this, and it should always divide this by 32. Which is awesome. Okay. So that is pretty good. There's so few steps left that I just want to finish it. It is 5 PM. It's going to be dinner for me soon. If I don't finish this up, I'll be at a place that I'm not happy with when I actually have to stop. I would like to turn this into a more similar logic to this. I'm going to quickly try that. And then tomorrow we can come back and we can do all the button logic and the pathing logic, and that will take us a decent few hours as well. So there's going to have to be some refactoring, I think. Right here we've got X target origin. Target minus origin. So it's target minus origin. I've already drawn this widget and set its position. I have. So what I could do is promote local variable. Widget. Why do I keep using I? L widget. I'm using I because that's what I used to use, and I worked on a project where they use L for local, which makes more sense, and I did prefer it. Slot is camera slot. Get position. Split this. Actually, just plug that in there, and then target Y. Okay, so the target Y is, oops, tier plus the tier offset. Target minus origin. It should be this. Nice. That distance is now also controlled, just with less. It's just more modular, I suppose, because I'm hoping to be able to turn this into a vertical as well, like a vertical graph. Which is where a lot of the refactoring will come in. I think the panner should be reversed because you climb in that direction. Not in this game. In this game, we start from the top. I guess this does look like a goal icon, but the intent is that it's The intent is that is that is the starting location on this one. I'm going to draw it in all directions eventually. So at the moment, we start at the top and we move downwards. And then I want to get the panning in so I can actually look at the bottom as well. So what we can do at like the most basic way of doing this is we'll just add a scroll box. And now we can actually scroll up and down. So that's nice. And then if we're horizontal, we can play with that. Okay, so let's try and get this drawing in different orientations. Let's create an enum. Blueprint, numeration, we'll just say e_direction. Just create 4 enums. Currently we're top to bottom. And we'll have bottom to top, left to right, and right to left. We'll add that in here as a config. And when we are drawing our nodes, we're just going to have to start taking this direction into account. So by default, this direction is top to bottom. Num positions -1. That's the X position, and the Y position. I mean, it's going to change in every scenario. So what we should really do is make a vector. Make 2D. Oh, come on. I could make a translation function, I suppose, that would essentially take this. Actually, yeah, it would take this, collapse to function, translate to direction. Now make this pure. I'm just wondering if this is the right way to do this. If I was to consider every node, I suppose. I don't actually really like having that single top node. But it's what it is. That's the design I went with. which is not actually the design I kind of want. I would prefer to have like 2 points or 3 points that split out and you get to pick one. And of course we could figure out the logic to do that, but for now I'm like, am I okay with this where I'm going to pick one of these guys? This X distance is really bothering me right now, so I'm just going to bring this right down. So we've got this nice little graph. See, this doesn't look too bad. It's like you get 3 choices. Which one do you want to choose? And then you get. It looks better when it's like thinner like this. I'm gonna hide that scroll bar though. Scroll bar visibility is collapsed. It's cool. The last thing I want to do now is create that final point at the bottom. I do want to translate all of this though. So if I'm translating this, at the moment I'm saying like tier is Y and position is X. And I basically have to rotate that for any one of my potential ideas there. If I ever translate to direction here, and we know it's coming in as top to bottom, I take in the X, I say, okay, originally this X is the left and right, but now it's the top to bottom or bottom to top. But if the X came in as, let's say, in this case, position distance was like 100, right? So it'd be 700, 350 would be the answer for the X going in. But we actually want that on the far left now. Yeah, it's just not. The better way to have that translate to direction is a function called get canvas position. And it comes in with tier and position. And from there you kind of say, hey, position in this case is the actual position is this divided by 2, and it comes out as a float as well. But that's the position along. It's half of the number of positions. And the tier, technically, is -1. It's the start. So let's translate that into something meaningful. Hey Fetch, welcome back. Do you want to see where we got to? So this is where we're at right now. Actually just messed with this variable. So I'm going to maybe try and fix that. Because it's going to be this multiplied by a position distance. Nope. Wait, what? Oh yeah, cool. It's back to front. Tier position. This is where we've got to with the new stream. I think you were in the last one. You may have already seen this, and I've probably just been going around in circles for a while. I also had to fight a fire off cam for a little bit. It's also absolutely boiling, so like, and it's the end of my day. I don't really stream in the afternoons, and this is kind of why. It does look cool though. I am now literally refactoring it to work in all 4 directions so that I can go on to the next stage where I actually start clicking on every element. So we come in with a tier and a position. At this time, we're doing tier, and we're going to multiply that by tier distance. And usually we add the first tier offset as well. We'll use this. My stream keeps messing up. I keep hearing it say like disconnected, connected. More than, because we're gonna have an endpoint, and its tier, the tier of that endpoint is gonna be like num tiers. Call this the start end offset. Looks like everything on my stream fully died for a moment there, and I think it could be something to do with the heat. My router probably overheating. Which is another reason why I should probably only stream in the mornings. So this is our, hopefully this works for general purpose. Get canvas position here. I'm going to plug this in here. We're going to use, this is position. Let's plug the X in. This is tier. Let's see if that still works for us. The thing is a little messed up. I guess the point was that at the end I want to actually add 2 times this. I think it's like if the tier is equal to num tiers, it's the last tier. So it is last tier. And if it is the last tier, then we want to be num tiers multiplied by tier distance plus start end offset multiplied by 2. And I'm going to add the endpoint soon, hopefully. So that's the last tier. And otherwise, it's like, okay, well, is your tier less than 0? If it is, nothing, otherwise start end offset. Yeah, we could just call this main node padding, I guess. Where's my condition for that gone? Hold on. If the tier is equal to num tiers, then it is the last tier. Okay, cool. We're we're drawing the first element in the wrong place. Draw nodes. Tier -1. It is actually applying a pretty decent offset, I suppose. So let's just do point. So that's cool. This is all working again. So we have refactored some logic, and some logic is working good. Let's keep refactoring. So we just need to find all places where we're setting positions. So here, this is for the paths. Paths? What? Start node. Yeah, and then we'll say path nodes. Okay. Great. That one works. Draw lines, tier position, cool. First line or first lines? Because this should be for each path. Yeah. This is lines from start node to first tier. This is main lines, and then we're going to have a final one down here, which is end lines. We'll sort that out later. Stream reliability today has been pretty dire, I have to say. We're at 2.5 hours. I would like, I guess, this to end within the next half an hour. Let's finish. We had some set positions over here. This is tier in position, so that's good. This isn't. So the tier is -1, and the position is just whatever that position for that path is. Try that. Try that. Nope. I suppose we could use -1, and then I'll just change how -1 behaves. If tier is less than 0, then it's 0. Otherwise, it's tier distance. So this function is going to turn into our multi-directional, basically. And so here we'll have a little switch. This will be our top to bottom, and then we'll have one for each other possibility. And we'll just move around the variables, so top to bottom. I've just got to convert everything over to using this position thing first. Why that position's not working. Because the position needs to not be this, it needs to be num positions with a division 2. Okay, that works. Not sure why it wouldn't let me do it. But... I'm guessing it's this -1. Okay. This I got rid of down here. So why have I still had to keep it up the top? Need to... So this all needs to change as well, which is bloody annoying. Because it's considering the Y as... Well, it is position distance. We'll see. We'll see how this goes, but it is assuming that the X is that direction, so this might not work. We might need to refactor even more of this. But here we just have this render angle setting a distance. I feel like I should just be able to plug this in and it should be just fine. It's ever directly down like this is, it's still good. So we didn't need that little check. Okay, so all set positions should now be using get canvas position. The only thing now is that the angle logic might not be great. Because say for example, this angle is saying get the position, multiply it by position distance, which could be up or down. This part here where we're taking position X, we're minusing this and we're assuming position X, which is wrong. Let's do a quick macro. Is vertical. And then here what we're going to do is selector. It's vertical. If it is vertical, it's this, otherwise it's this. So we'll try that out in various places and hope that that does what we want. So for the X, if it is vertical, it's the X. For the Y, if it's vertical, it's this Y. Where's this? Hit play, make sure that's all still working. So that's looking good. Okay. Oh, Nelly, it's a difficult one. We've got a Y here, but that's fine because that's a transition. So if I now say, if I now change direction from top to bottom to top instead. Oh wow. Oh yeah, well I don't report anything. Should probably report something. If it's okay, so that's top to bottom. Let's do bottom to top. So in bottom to top, the position left and right is always the same. It's just the Y that changes, and it changes by being essentially number of tiers multiplied by tier distance. So we get the main body plus main node padding essentially multiplied by 2, because we're going to have the main node padding at the top and the bottom, and then we're going to minus essentially whatever came out of y. We just put that in there. But we end up with this crazy graph. It just totally doesn't work. It's a shame. Why wouldn't that work? It's going to be the total size. This would have been 0, but it wants to be the bottom. I guess it's the distance logic. Let's not draw the lines for now. I get quite... I love that redraws the lines. I get quite a different result than what I was expecting. Here we have this small amount of padding, and we have this small padding at the bottom. When I'm here, maybe I only need to add this once. It's still quite a distance more than I expected. I'm curious why that is. Potentially this. It just shouldn't be that way. This is the default padding, I think, of the canvas panel. 100 units. I'm going to wrap this in a border. Of this canvas panel. Still be 100 units. No, actually, sorry. That'd be 0. Border is 100 units. Yeah. Just make this. Okay. I find it interesting that I get all this extra on the right here. Is this translated in some way? Nope. Nope. It's not translated. It's just the way it is. Hey, I mind. Yeah, not bad. I'm just like trying to refactor the whole thing so I can do up, down, left, and right generation. And so at the moment I'm just fighting with... If I redraw this, I kind of get what I was expecting. But when I draw it upside down, I get something like quite different. So let's draw this upside down. Up to top. There's some padding here that I didn't expect. Didn't want that padding. This padding, that's the 100 units. This padding from here to here just doesn't like make sense to me. If I go top to bottom, yeah, like there's a small amount of padding there, but so weird. So weird. Okay. Sometimes it gets thinner because of the generation. Cool. All right, so I do have that distance at the bottom here as well. I've also got a distance to the right that I'm not sure why it's there, and this definitely isn't in the middle of our canvas. I guess one thing, it's rendered 0.5, so this is a square. If I do Control-Shift-W, I mean, I'm going to make most of this non-hit testable, but that gap and the gap at the bottom is half the size, and this is obviously just left by half the size and up by half the size, so everything is plotting its position as if it's going to be drawn down and to the right, like very slightly down to the right, but because of the alignment offset. So that makes sense. If this was drawn without me changing the alignment, then it wouldn't appear in that way. And so then if I go bottom to top, I mean, it's essentially drawn here, but it's more, and this is more as well. Either way, if I now draw the lines completely explode. So the distance logic for the lines is like completely borked. What I'm going to do is just draw the first 4 lines, which we're drawing downwards in this case. We do have the issue where we haven't used this as vertical logic on the X here. So if it's vertical, that's fine, but we should be using the Y otherwise. That didn't do the right angle still. Get rid of that. was hoping that would work. A bit of a slow stream. Sometimes they're like this. Like I did one a while back, and it was a lot of me just sort of trying to think through a problem, which of course when you're doing that on a live stream isn't so fun. I might do some of this off stream again. Get this main node padding here. It's saying that the distance between first index and 0, which is wrong. It's got to be the distance between this y. There we go. That's good. That at least works on the vertical sense. So we'll see how well that does when we flip the orientation to horizontal. But I'm happy that that has got to a stage where it's not completely broken. Get rid of this logic deck. Okay. So down here, we're still going to have some issues. So what we're doing is we're saying the source position, and we need to bring in the tier for this. Could actually just split this here. Source position X. Plug that in. Why is that? Why are we minusing the destination X? Saying that the transition is from A to B. That's the distance. Doing it by position distance. Ah, okay, why? It hasn't yet drawn. Okay. X minus X. And then we've got something similar here. We've got something similar here. Wait a second. redraw this. It's all going in the wrong direction. And instead of doing it multiplied like this, I want to just plug this minus this thing from the current tier again. But instead this time the position is the destination position. Let's try that. Okay. And then, well, let's see if the X is good. It would be really hard to tell. This comes up here. I do have something that looks like it's coming from the right place here, possibly, in terms of an X. A Y, no, and that is just the rendered translation. Oh, I should check that some of this stuff still works in top to bottom, actually. Yeah, so this is all still working. Need to not forget to test top to bottom. If I keep forgetting that, then I'm going to get to a point where I'm like, oh no, it doesn't work at all. Okay. Yeah, and this position is just going to be Y as well. Ah, yeah, that didn't work at all. This is just a distance for the ATAN2 radians. And it's the distance in this case. It says here position. X is the tier. Vice position X is T. Distance is just tier distance, like every time. Yes, but inverted, I suppose. Because yeah, L tier plus 1 minus my tier is just 1. So like that math is pointless. If I plug that in and do a downward facing graph, the downward facing graph is fine because yeah, tier plus 1 minus tier is 1. Saying the distance, this angle that we're doing is just 1. That's fine. Although it might be essentially multiplied by -1 if you're upside down. Apparently isn't the case. It just goes like wild off the charts again. Damn it. Let's not play wildly with the distance for now. Let's just say 256. 200. I think it is. I was gonna say, I think it is working, but that definitely not working. And it's because I added this multiply by -1 here. So if we get the canvas position of what's it going to be? It's just going to be the distance between two of them. From like one to the next. So if I do this plus 1, and then this into here, position doesn't really matter. We're just looking at the y distance. Simply the other way around. So that works on that one. Does not work there. Works on pretty much everything except the last entry. Interesting. Work on the last entry here either. It's a pretty cool generation. Okay, so that all works now. God damn. Spicy code, right, and then we can add a distance back in, which works in the down but doesn't work. So oh. Distance here. Just this should be. So let's just check that that works. Destination. Here is weird. This is I don't want to use the raw position. Let's use a tier and my position, essentially. Why not? Because that should report that XY should be the same as this XY. Because it's like place I put my widget, which is right here. Oh, it's tier plus tier minus 1. Be tier minus 1. That all still works. Got tier multiplied by tier distance. So I think what we want to do is not this. We've also got the main node padding, which is accounted for in here. Ultimately, this is just the distance. I could use absolute, I think, for this, and it would be fine. Let's make sure we're doing it right. So current tier, we don't really care about
position in this case. So like X doesn't matter, but Y in this case should just be that. There we go. So finally fixed that one. Oh, yay, up, down. Process of eliminations. Just going through all the refactors. Okay, so for anyone still here, we have had success. We have got now a bottom to top and a top to bottom. Next we're going to do left and right. And my god, that's just going to open up another world of headaches. What time are we at? We're at 6 PM. It's not good. Okay, so let's get our left and right. Debug key left. And debug key right. Okay. So same again, except this time we're going to go right to left and left to right. Left and left to right. Right, right to left. If I press right, I want to draw it from left to right. I want the right side to be the goal. If I press left, I want to go right to left. If I press down, I want the bottom to be the goal. If I press up, I want the top to be the goal. Yeah, so this is correct. So this is just more debugging. Debug redraw again. And then we've got, we technically don't need this create map because we can just press the arrow key now. So debug draw. Draw lines. That's fine. Get canvas position. That's not fine. Let's figure out left to right. So for this one, when we're going left to right, our tier is our X position. Position is. However, what I need to do is it's simply, it's not that simple. Essentially, tier is our X. Position is our, it might be that simple. Let's try it out. It's mostly simple. So we'll do similar to this. Oops. and that all of our lines are fixed downwards. So we'll just have to fix that, and then we've got left, right, up, down. When we move into the right, I can see that. But when we move into the left, it's actually off screen. I do need to also change the orientation of the scroll box. So when we go to the right, our angles work in the first instance, going from a position to a target, but then they don't work. So what's the difference between those lines? Take a look. This is old data, so we don't need that. Essentially, I want to use this logic, but I want to make sure that we use the correct tier. So instead of, in this case, this is the to, and this is the from. So I want to go L tier X transition here. And then, oh sorry, I'm not already. From X. Or is this? This is the from position. Then here, this is the to. Think would be +1, but that won't make sense on the last row, so we'll see what happens. Completely breaks it. It's so weird. Probably make this a house because it's kind of confusing. In episode 5, Polymap, variants, I had a camp, which I will now go and use. Damn how it works. It just works. No, it doesn't work. We'll figure it out. It's not that hard. It's just maths. So this works fine. This says A B. I'm curious if start widget here. If I go back a node to here and I use this, split X, Y, does it still work? It does. So the logic is fine. I'm actually going to do that. Actually, it's cheaper to do it the other way. Kind of just sets a precedent that this works. Let's bring it down here and just call this A. A is my position, the widget that we care about right now, which in this case is the current translation that we're working with. That's the source dest. There's the source is the position, and the tier is just L tier. That should be fine. And it all points to B should be L tier plus 1. In this case, it was one of the positions on tier 1. So that's the destination position. It's between A and B. Well, nice trigonometry. Mostly working now. We're going from left to right. Right, you know, left to right here. Up and down, down and up. Just got that issue on the final one. Just doesn't work on the final one. If I can just say this. We're done. We're done with today's section. Hey, anyone watching? For some reason my thing is broke, so I can't see if anyone is actually watching, although I don't blame you if you're not. But we have managed to get multi-directional maps done, so that's cool. So we have our start at the bottom, and then we end at the top. We've got our start on the left, end at the right, start on the right, end at the left, start on the bottom, end at the top. So that's very cool. That is the foundation where we will move on from in the next episode, where we actually start to add interactions to this and highlight the paths. It does seem like this path is particularly brighter than others, as if we have two. Almost like we have two here as well. Not sure if it's a glitch or like a code bug or something else, but that's pretty cool. So just take a quick capture of this. That's us for today. I'm going to save this out and I'll clean all this up off stream, but yeah, we have some tier position based cameras position, up, down, left, right, translation logic done, and we're going to add button logic and traversal saving the position that you are on the map in the next session we'll do tomorrow morning. So we'll carry on with this tomorrow. Anyone watching, thanks for watching, and